The bodhicitta mind, the compassionate mind, consists of four immeasurable. Therefore, immeasurable kindness, immeasurable compassion, immeasurable rejoice, and immeasurable equanimity. One thing to step back, before I speak on the four immeasurable, according to the Mahayana teaching, the way to generate compassion, it is said that all beings have been your parents at one time or another. So, you have been my parents, I've been your parents at one time or another. Because we have taken so many rebirths. And no one is exception, that we all have been, one's parent at one time or another. And when one has been parents, when we look at our mothers, our mothers have given us the best of food, best of clothes, best of care. The parents have taken so much care. And so is naturally, when you try to practice compassion to your mother, it's not difficult. Because you feel that you can easily give, love to them and to your parents, and because what they've done to you, you feel no problem. But if we are to practice that same kind of compassion to an enemy, it's very difficult. You feel, I can't do that with that person, for what he or she did to me I can't, exchange. I can't even bear seeing them happy. It just gives me pain if I notice them having pleasure in life, happiness. And if they have pain and suffering, you feel good, And that's actually wrong. But even sometimes people know it's wrong, but that's how they feel inside. That's habit, the power of neurosis. Even you know that if someone is suffering, it's not the right thing. But you feel, if that happens to your enemy, yes, he or she deserves that. We feel like that. And it's not very compassionate. Definitely from the point of compassion, point of, sanity, it's not really good mind. Even you are harmed, and even you have been unjust, you've been unjust. And if you, have that kind of resentment inside your mind, that will be the destruction of yourself at the end. Because it will destroy your happiness. It will hunt you back. And so, therefore, forgiveness is very important. And to the point, in the spiritual tradition, one would think, maybe I did something bad in my former life to that person, and now I'm getting back in this life. And to some other extents, there's certain spiritual practice who would think, not only this suffering, that what I'm going through, not only my own suffering, in fact, all the similar suffering of other beings come upon me. And when one has that kind of powerful mind of compassion, in fact, it just melts all our negativity. Because what can melt negativity is positivity. What can cleanse the dirt is the soap. It's the water, clean water. A dirty water cannot make unclean. Cannot clean something unclean. Only a clean water can clean something unclean. A clean mind can clean unclean mind. Not unclean mind can clean unclean mind. It's really, that's how it is. That's how nature is. That's how compassion is. Only the thought of forgiveness and love and compassion can, purify our resentment, purify our negativities, purify emotions, and it can transcend us, and we can feel awakened and strengthened and clear, because we feel purified through the power of compassion. But without that compassion, feeling resentment, taking revenge, I've been hurt, I'm going to hurt them back. That kind of mind will destroy oneself and destroy others. It can never heal anything. In fact, it can be cause for the next rebirth. After the next incarnation, again, that whole drama, the play will happen again. So think about if that happens, how much pain we would have to go again. Rather, you can stop it and you can purify that, you can let it go and move forward. So, that's why spiritual teaching is important to listen and important to understand the laws of nature, the laws of karma, how things happens. In every teaching, in the Christianity, on any other teachings, Hinduism, Buddhism, it all explains. I would think that forgiveness has the most powerful act. That comes out of compassion. Without forgiveness, to think by revenging someone, if you can purify, then I think at this time we would all be enlightened already. Because we do that a lot. We practice that a lot. We are enlightened in that, in fact. I shouldn't use the word enlightened, actually. We're so used to that, so strongly habituated to that. So that's not the way. It's the wrong way, the wrong path, and the wrong understanding. So Shantideva said, though being wish for, that they want to have long life, they don't want to be sick, they don't want to have poverty, they don't want to have suffering in this and future life. That's how they wish for it all the time. But it's almost like you are, destroying yourself. Like a butterfly being attracted to the flame. The flame will kill the butterfly, but the butterfly get attracted and go straight into the fire. Like we destroy our own happiness, literally, almost. Like, the causes which will bring us happiness, we don't go after that, but we go after which will bring us suffering, like the butterfly going straight into the fire flame. And we rush towards that flame. Not only we go, but we rush towards that flame. We can't wait for it. And whether it's physical sickness, whether it's short life, though one doesn't wish for them, and one wish for a well-being and happiness, but we are ignorant in the causes which bring us happiness and the cause and what's to be abandoned. We are ignorant. So therefore we engage in all negative actions and negative emotions all the time. So one destroys the happiness of this life and others. So a bodhisattva, talking about the four immeasurable before I was talking, the bodhisattvas regard, that every being has been one's parent, and it does become a source of inspiration easily to develop compassion to all the beings. And if we regard all being as being our parents, then, since our love for our parents is so strong, then there's an equanimity experience. Like, this is my enemy, I have aversion. This is my friend, I'm attached. You don't have that. Like when you regard everyone as your friend, then, or everyone as your parents, you have love equally to everyone without, discrimination. And that is the equanimity of immeasurable equanimity. Once you develop that, then always a good thought will arise. Even the negative thought arises, it has no power because of understanding of the compassion being arisen to the beings. then even you want to harm someone, you will not do harm because of, feeling the love and care for the being. So immeasurable equanimity sometimes should be practiced before the three other equanimity, the immeasurable equanimity. And then immeasurable compassion for beings that are suffering, immeasurable love, those who are happy, immeasurable rejoice, those who have happiness. Rejoice is one of the most powerful mind. The opposite of rejoice is jealousy. So when you look at the emotion of jealousy and emotion of rejoice, they can produce different karmic experience. When we can rejoice, our mind is at peace. Definitely our mind is at peace. We feel relaxed, our body is well, our mind is well, and in fact we create a world of possibilities for ourselves and others. But when we feel jealous, it destroys all our good things. In fact, it wouldn't harm the other person that much. When you feel jealous to someone, you are the one who is getting hurt, not them particularly. And not only you hurt yourself, but you create a tremendous negative energy. That energy which become like solidified and later become the cause for many other jealousy and many other suffering to be born. You can stand someone's happiness. You can stand someone's good things or well-being, whether they're wealth or power or fame or happiness or things like whatever it is. We just get engulfed with resentment and and anger and jealousy, and that's very definitely it's very sad. So one should try to change, if one can develop the attitude, all being has been my parents, then I think many of these emotions will not arise. The thing is, that's the one way of working, how to develop compassion, how to develop positive thoughts. And obviously we all experience when we have jealous, how much it destroys our happiness and our physical well-being, and no need to say mental well-being. So rejoice is very powerful, the amount of merit. If someone is doing something good, there's definitely good karma, merit in that. And if you rejoice, you get the same karma of the person doing it. That's the strength of the rejoice. You get equally the same karma. And there was a story about that one time, during the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, there was a king who invited Buddha and his monks for lunch, and each day after Buddha have his lunch, he would dedicate the merit to the king, who has invited and offered the food to him and the monks. And then there was one day an old beggar lady, and she saw the king making this offering to Buddha, food. And obviously he learned things of Dharma from the Buddha. And she thought how fortunate this king is. Due to his good karma, he's born as a king. And now he has the opportunity to invite the Buddha and the monks. And then he has the opportunity to offer them food. And how fortunate that this person is. And she rejoiced in his good act. And by rejoicing in that, her merit was so increased. That day Buddha asked the king, should I dedicate this merit to the one who has got the highest merit? And the king thought, who else could be there than me who got the highest merit? I'm the one who does all these good things, so I got to be the highest. And he said, yes, please do. And the Buddha said, that woman, beggar lady, she has arisen in her mind of rejoice for what good you are doing. So therefore she has tremendous merit. offering food to the monks and rejoicing in your goodness and well-being. And Buddha dedicated to her. So she was also coming every day, So I think it was a time Buddha was being at his palace, though he doesn't live in a palace, but they were invited almost like for the period of summer or for many days. So every day Buddha started dedicating to her. At some point, then the minister, like the king's minister who runs the whole thing, and they begin to feel embarrassed. They felt that this is, very embarrassing to a king, that the Buddha doesn't dedicate to him but dedicate this beggar lady. And they have this, cunning thought how to destroy her positivity. It's amazing sometimes how mind can think. So what happened one day, as she came, after the food being offered to the Buddhas, then they would give food to the beggars. And they give food to the rest of the beggars, but they left out. And she got so angry that, how dare you do that to me? And she, and her whole merit, and her merit was dissolved. By the anger, destroyed her merit. And that day, Buddha dedicated to the king. It's so powerful how this, after all, life experience is creation of our mind. Who else make your life experience beside your mind? So when your mind begins to have these emotions, or positive or negative, have definitely effect in your life experience, whether they're good or whether they're bad. Nobody else makes good and bad. It's our mind which makes good and bad. So rejoice, it's very important. If we start practicing how to rejoice, then wherever you go, everyone will love you. Nobody loves a person who is jealous all the time. They don't feel comfortable, but they feel very comfortable, who rejoice and who really is very open and, who are full of light, like rejoicing in others' well-being. So the power of rejoice is very strong. It's one of the, when a person make dedication, there is a prayer situation which can give the birth of good or bad. There's no such thing as entity like that. Everything is like interdependent, coming together temporarily at that moment, and it's temporal. It's like a fleeting experience continuously. So when you understand that there's, if we are to say there exists such an entity, bad or jealous like that, then there's a good reason to be jealous. And there's a good reason to be angry. But since that is not the case, where you feel jealous, you may not feel jealous later. Because it's interdependent, cause and condition meeting together. That's what creates the phenomenal manifestation, phenomenal appearance. There is nothing entity as saying this is good and this is bad, like that. Things are just like manifesting when cause and conditions comes together. When cause and condition changes, it changes. So like when people, sometimes people like each other, some people don't like each other. Sometimes you get along, sometimes you don't get along. It's condition changing, constantly changing. One person is loved by some people, one person is not loved by someone. One person becomes the father of someone, one person becomes the friend of someone, one person becomes the enemy of someone, one person becomes the teacher of someone, one person becomes the student of someone, one person becomes grandfather of someone, one person becomes grandchild of someone. Like all is different, constantly changing based on that. So there's nothing real there. When you understand that, it makes your mind more open. And you can be more free within yourself, instead of looking at like an unchangeable entity there. No one is really, really bad from that point of view. Even they are bad, but not really that bad. There's a hope, and the hope is you may have the key. The key is how you relate to that person is your key. If you go to the door and put the key inside, you can open it. But if you go and bang your head, you will hurt yourself and you can open it. The key is in you. Whether you want to knock your head or whether you want to just simply put the key inside and unlock it. The whole life is you hold the key to the life. You hold the key to your liberation, and you hold also your downfall. So the immeasurable rejoice, immeasurable equanimity, immeasurable compassion, immeasurable love, and immeasurable rejoice, the four immeasurable. Then once that immeasurable is developed, then the Bodhisattva practice on 6 paramita. The practice of generosity, the practice of discipline, the practice of patience, tolerance, the practice of diligent, opposite of laziness, the practice of one-pointed concentration, samadhi, and the practice of wisdom, transcending, So the 6 paramita practice is practice 4 immeasurable, and 6 paramita is the practice of bodhisattva on the path. How one's developed the bodhicitta. And through that one practice, they're aspiring compassion and actualizing compassion, or relative compassion, or the ultimate compassion. So at the same time, Shantideva explained that the compassionate mind is like the medicine which heals all sickness. So the mind is the medicine for our mind. Compassionate mind is the medicine which heals us from neurosis and from aggression, from jealousy, from hatred. All the sickness of samsara are healed through the medicine of compassion. Therefore, it's called precious mind, mind which heals us, make us well. The strength and virtue is immeasurable to this mind. Therefore, it is said, even we are to measure the benefit of the compassion, it's even bigger than the sky. Even the sky is not big enough, because it's like the medicine to heal all our neurosis and all our pain. So now it's also Shantideva also explained. Normally we think, the Buddhas are very special. The enlightened ones are special, and ordinary common beings, they're not special. But how are you going to practice compassion without the ordinary beings? The object of compassion is someone, who challenge you. When someone challenges you, that's the time to practice compassion. Where else? When someone hurts you, that's the time to be patient. Where else? When we sit in our room comfortably, well protected, and reading a book, I like the idea of tolerance. That's different than actually practicing tolerance. The actual practice of tolerance is when someone challenges you on the spot, and that's the time that whether you fall back into your old habit, or whether you really have forgiveness at that time. So he said, beings are equal to Buddhas from the point of being important for our spiritual growth, spiritual practice. Why? Because without the being, how are you going to practice this patience? Without someone challenging you, how are you going to practice patience? How are you going to practice compassion? How are you going to, how are you going to grow without that? In fact, from the Bodhisattva path, one's enemy is a great teacher to one. They're the one who teaches us how to be strong. They're the one who help us to go beyond. They in fact shows us our neurosis, challenges to show. So beings are important. It's not to say that the Buddhas, the enlightened ones, are special one. I received the blessing and the beings I don't care. That's wrong. Because the beings are equally important. It says in some teaching, no matter how wretched the beings are, they're equally important. They're so great, so important to us. Because without them, we can never achieve enlightenment. It's through them, they have their problem, they have their confusion. And it's their confusion which, brings us the quality of compassion arising. Without that, how can we have compassion? So therefore, we have to respect the being as equally to the Buddhas in some way. So respect one's enemy from that point. Someone you don't like, someone you feel uncomfortable. Now that doesn't mean from today, you just moment you meet your enemy, you just totally bow down and, hold his feet. You don't have to do that, but you have to understand in your mind that they are so important part of your spiritual practice. They are. The spiritual practice finally comes to the question of your sanity, which means question of your mind. And that means, how you relate with that, with the phenomenal environment, with the phenomenal situation happening. With people who challenge you, with people who harm you. It is when they harm you, that's the awareness of patience, the awareness of tolerance, the awareness of diligence, not being afraid to work with that. All those arises. It's through their blessing in some way. It's a blessing that we receive that we are able to do that. So we can never look down on beings saying, they're the cause of suffering, and so therefore, I don't want to think about them. In fact, if you don't want to think about them, you don't relate to that, you can never really have a birth of enlightenment to yourself. So why did the Bodhisattva says the mother of enlightenment is compassion? That means compassion is not just something you sit by yourself and think all these good things, and suddenly the whole thing will materialize out of the blue sky. No, when you go in the world where you're challenged, where you're spit upon, where you're slapped upon, where you're kicked and where you're done, that's where you find enlightenment in some way. At that time where you gain strength, that's where you really grow. You get to grow a great being, or you get to grow into something negativity. So the key is in our hand. So Shantideva said beings are equally important as Buddhas, because without their support, without their being challenged, where else the practice of patience will come? The practice of patience comes when you are challenged. When you're hurt, that's the time to do practice of patience. When else? So it's, that's how spiritual path is. When we look deeply into spiritual path, then we can turn everything around and make everything workable. Transform the neurosis and can make it into wisdom. Okay. So I think we will conclude here now, and please reflect on it, practice on it, and then at 7 o'clock we'll do it. Thank you. Sonamdi tamche zipani tobne nipe dana pamchini kega na je balongtu sibe tsole dowa shu. Chhoje Rinpoche VIII Thank you.